So you're thinking of moving from California to Oklahoma. My name is Kinsley Hauser, and I'm a local realtor here in Oklahoma City, Edmond, the metro area, and I love getting to help people every day and helping them find their dream homes here in Oklahoma. So if you're thinking about moving, please feel free to reach out to me. You can give me a call, text, email, send me a DM, schedule a Google Meet, because I'd love to be able to connect with you and potentially help you on your move. In this video, I want to talk about moving from California to Oklahoma. There's some reasons you might want to make the move. There's some reasons you might want to stay put. And I will say last year, I think I saw more people move from California than anywhere else, just in my business personally, as there's a lot of reasons and incentives that people do see for moving to Oklahoma. But again, Oklahoma is not for everybody, and so I want to kind of talk through some of those things. So I'm going to give you 7 reasons why you might want to move and 7 reasons why you might not. Number 1 is just the cost of living. As you're looking at not only housing, but food, gas, utilities, all those things, it tends to be so much cheaper here in Oklahoma than it would in California. I have talked to some people that have moved, and when they tell me what they paid for utilities and gas and just all the things that they had to pay for in California, they're saving so much money just simply by living here in Oklahoma. And number 2 is related to that, but it is the housing costs. When I'm talking to people about what they're selling for, what they're able to buy for, how much more bang for their buck they can get, it really is amazing. And so if you just even look on Zillow and look at $1 million in California versus $1 million in Oklahoma, what you're gonna get is vastly different. And so I think that is really the reason a lot of people do decide to move. I had one family in particular that they talked about moving, while the parents could afford it, they were worried just for their children. As their children get older and start their own lives, it would just be so much harder for them in California than it would be here in Oklahoma, where things do tend to be more affordable. Number 3 is Oklahoma tends to have lower taxes. So as you're looking at property taxes, as you're looking at income taxes, generally they tend to be lower in Oklahoma. So especially depending on what you do, business, that could be potentially a really big incentive for a lot of people. Number 4, there tends to be less traffic and crowds. If you talk to people from Oklahoma, they may say the traffic is horrible here. I personally do not think it is bad, especially compared to a lot of other cities across the United States, but there's just a lot less people here as well. A lot less tourism, and with that, just a lot less traffic and just a lot less people to kind of have to live around. Number 5 is Oklahoma generally has a really friendly environment. That's one thing that as people move here, they tell me, or even as they come and visit, they're just blown away by how nice everybody is. Now, of course, this is not always the case. You might run into some people who are not very nice, but generally speaking, I think a lot of people here are really friendly, and a lot of people kind of have that Southern hospitality to them. Even people moving here from other places tend to be really nice, and they move here because they like that environment. And so I would say that's one thing that I hear about a lot of people moving here, is that they are blown away with how friendly people are. Number 6 is the seasons. I would say that Oklahoma really does have 4 distinct seasons. Again, I will often say in videos, they're not perfectly equal, so each one is not 3 months long, but as far as seeing the change in weather, seeing the flowers, seeing the rain, seeing all the things that each season has, you really do have those 4 seasons, whereas California may not, might be more of a milder weather, which might be good for some. I would say that generally a lot of people like kind of having those 4 seasons. And then number 7 is kind of where Oklahoma is located. Oklahoma is pretty centrally located, and so when you're in California, you are a whole country away from the East Coast, whereas in Oklahoma, you are, again, pretty central to both coasts. And so while this may not be a benefit for some people, a lot of people do like it because you can access some of those other states more easily. Flights are shorter, or you might can even do it in a drive. And so that is a pro for a lot of people. Now I want to give you 7 reasons why people might decide to stay in California, why they might not want to move. Number 1 is higher salaries and job market. I talked about how living in Oklahoma is cheaper, and while that is true, you may not be able to have the salaries that you could have in California. So while housing is more expensive, there do tend to be higher paying jobs and maybe a bigger job market in California than you would have in Oklahoma. Does it equal out when you're looking at housing prices versus jobs? I don't know. I think that's what each person has to look at for themselves. But generally speaking, California is going to have probably higher paying jobs and a better job market. Number 2 is the beaches and more of an outdoor lifestyle. If you really love the beach and really love surfing, and that is a part of you and your personality and who you are, Oklahoma is probably not the place for you. Again, just with more of an outdoor lifestyle. Now, I will say there are things that you can do in Oklahoma. There are lakes, there are parks and trails, but again, that really beach atmosphere, those things, You can't get that in Oklahoma. So if that is a really big deal to you, you might want to stay in California. Number 3 is I would say that California has more diverse culture, has more diverse entertainment, and really just probably more things to do. As you look at California being, I would say, one of more of the major states across the United States, there's just a lot more that it offers versus Oklahoma, which while it still does offer a lot, it's not going to offer nearly as much as what California as a whole offers. Number 4 is the milder weather. I talked about how Oklahoma sees those 4 seasons, which can be extreme, really hot summers, really cold winters, whereas California is going to be milder as a whole. I know there's still weather changes. I know it still might get hot in certain places or whatnot, but as a whole, I'd say it's a little bit more mild. California does not tend to have tornadoes like Oklahoma does. And so I know that's one big thing for a lot of people is tornadoes, Tornado Alley. California, probably gonna be a safer option there. Now, again, it might have its own kind of natural disasters that occur there, but looking at weather, tornadoes, California tends to be better with those sorts of things. Number 5 is California is home to many top-ranked universities. You have Stanford, you have UCLA, you have UC Berkeley, and these universities attract a lot of students. They attract a lot of professionals. I wouldn't say even within the United States, but worldwide. Those universities being there is a big draw for a lot of people, and if that is one of the reasons that you're in California, you probably don't want to leave it because that's the reason you went there to begin with. Number 6 is international access. You have those major airports in California, which definitely makes international access a lot easier, but you also just kind of like I mentioned have those diverse communities. You have, I would say, more of like a global business environment that California has that Oklahoma doesn't. And so especially if you are a traveler and really need easy access internationally, probably California would be the better place for that. And then number 7, and is I think probably one of the biggest reasons that people choose to stay in California, is just the family roots. If your family grew up in California, that's where your family lives, that's where you're familiar with, that's all you've known, you might not want to leave that. Now, I have some people where their whole family moves to Oklahoma. I had that happen last year where a family and the mom and they all just kind of moved together. And so that happens too. But if your roots and really what you're comfortable with is there and you don't feel comfortable leaving it, then you might want to stay in California. And I understand that Oklahoma is not for everybody. There's a lot of reasons why people don't want to move. And there's some people who think they're going to love it and they move and they decide they don't. And so they just move back. I never want to try to convince somebody to move, but I just want to be a resource that if you decide that is what you want to do, then I want to be able to help you with that move. So if you're thinking about moving, you want to be able to talk through some of it more, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'd love to connect with you and potentially help you on your move. So thank you so much for watching to the end of this video, and I will catch you in my next one.